There are souls that refuse to leave. There are people who die, but do not truly rest in peace in the ground. When death comes too suddenly, too cruelly, they will return, to complete what is not finished. But what if what they come back to find is their own flesh and blood? This is the story of a Hmong father who died and came back to life, and came back to eat his own children. Let's go into this story together. On a high mountain covered in mist all year round, where there is no phone signal, no city lights, only the sound of babbling streams and the wind blowing through the old forest canopy, there is a small village where the Hmong people have lived from generation to generation. The village is perched precariously on a steep slope in the middle of a dense forest, seemingly forgotten by the world. There was a poor family living in a simple wooden house, roofed with palm leaves, with walls woven with bamboo, stained with the color of time. The father was named Leej, a calm, quiet man, always working hard on the fields, hunting, and building a house to raise children. The wife was named Maeve, gentle, hard-working. Every day she worries about every meal and every piece of clothing for her husband and children. They have 3 children together. The oldest is not yet 8 years old. The youngest is a newborn. Life here is harsh, but the family is always filled with children's laughter, the crackling of the stove, and lullabies as gentle as a breeze. They have no money, no material things, but they have each other, love, and peace. Every night, Leej would sit in front of the fire, telling her Hmong fairy tales about forest ghosts, lost souls, and restless spirits. He always told her, "Don't go into the forest after sunset, because in the dark, there are not only wild animals, but also things, that are not human." But then, one bitterly cold December day, when the fog was so thick he could not see his hand, he said to his wife, "I'm going hunting, and will be back before dark." That was the last time Maeve heard his voice. That day, it was drizzling. The wind howled through the ravine like someone was crying. All night, Leej did not return. Maeve sat in front of the door with her child in her arms, feeling uneasy. The next morning, the whole village went looking for him. They followed his footprints in the forest, through cold streams and steep slopes, until they found him lying flat under an old tree. His body was cold, his neck twisted to one side, as if someone had broken it. His eyes were still wide open, full of horror. There were no wounds on his body, but there were deep scratches on the tree trunks around him, as if he had fought something invisible. The funeral was hastily held on a rainy day. The villagers whispered to each other, "This death is not normal. There are ghosts there." But then, things gradually calmed down. Maeve tried to continue living, holding her 3 children in the now empty and cold house. Every night, she lit candles, praying for her husband's soul to be liberated, hoping that he would not linger in the mortal world, not return to his cruel form. But she didn't know. There were souls who didn't want to be released, And from that night, strange things started happening in that small house. After the death of Mr. Leej, a traditional Hmong funeral was held. His body was washed, dressed in new funeral clothes, and placed in a coffin at home for 3 days and 3 nights. During this time, his family and relatives took turns keeping watch, playing the flute to guide his spirit back to its source and ask for rebirth. However, due to the suddenness of his death and the suspicion that evil spirits were involved, some important rituals may have been omitted or performed incompletely. The Hmong believe that if funeral rites are not performed properly, the soul of the deceased will not be able to rest in peace and may become a ghost, a wandering spirit that harms the living. Less than a week after the funeral, strange phenomena began to occur in the family's small home. Every night, the family dog barked incessantly at the front door, its fur standing on end, growling as if it saw something invisible. In the morning, Maeve, the wife, discovered muddy footprints appearing in front of the porch, leading from the forest to the door. That night, the sky was pitch black. The wind whistled through the cracks in the door, cold enough to chill the bones. In the small wooden house, The 3 children were already asleep, leaving only Maeve sitting by the stove, her eyes staring blankly at the flickering fire like a cold heart. The eldest son suddenly woke up with a start. He walked closer to his mother, his eyes still sleepy, and whispered softly into her ear, "Father has returned. Father has returned." Maeve paused. Her hands were shaking. She looked at her son and forced a weak smile. "You must be dreaming. Go to sleep, baby." But her heart tightened slightly. A cold feeling crept down her spine. She didn't know why, but her motherly instinct told her, tonight, something was not normal. And then, it happened. Knocking, slow, heavy, as if every bone was grinding against another. The kitchen went out with a bang. The fire went out as if someone had blown it out. Darkness rose, swallowing all the light in the house. Maeve stood frozen. She didn't dare move. The youngest child in her arms sobbed softly. The other 2 children woke up too, sitting up, eyes wide. The knocking came again. Knock, knock. Unable to resist, unable to escape, Maeve shakily walked to the door. Her legs felt heavy, as if pulled to the ground by an invisible force. Her hands shook as they reached up to unlatch the wooden door. The door swung open. Darkness rushed in, and there was him. A tall figure stood motionless in the cold drizzle. His clothes were soaked, covered in mud, drops of water dripping onto the ground, forming puddles. His face was no longer human. The skin on her face was peeling and ulcerated, as if someone had scratched it. One cheek had slid down, revealing a black jaw. Her eyes were white and wide open, but that gaze, Maeve recognized it was the gaze of Txiv, her husband, only ... This thing is no longer him. 2 little children shouted, "Father, Father." They rushed forward, innocent, naive, not realizing that the nightmare was opening its arms. The figure stretched out its arms to embrace the children, but it was not the gentle embrace of a father. It was a cold embrace, tight as a vice. Then crack, a dry sound rang out. A grin revealed sharp teeth crowded together like those of a wild beast. His fingernails, long curved like hooks, slowly dug into the children's backs. He said nothing, only his breathing was heavy, ... raspy, ... as if from a chest full of blood. Maeve screamed. Without thinking, she grabbed her youngest child, kicked open the back door, and dashed into the darkness of the cold forest. Behind was a scream tearing through the night. "Mom, save me, save me." Then silence, a terrifying silence. No baby crying, no wind, not even the sound of chasing footsteps. Only the sound of her heart beating like a drum, and the feeling of impending death. The next morning the villagers came. The house was empty. Not a soul, not a sound. Only muddy footprints remained. A pair of big feet, and 2 small ones leading straight into the deep forest, disappearing under the ancient tree that had been struck by lightning years ago. Since then, no one dared to approach that house again. It is rumored that on foggy nights, one can see a man standing in front of the abandoned porch, motionless arms, outstretched, as if welcoming children running towards him, and his eyes, still wide open. Since that fateful night, no one has seen Maeve or the 3 children again. The villagers only know that every time the fog rises, the buffalo herding children passing by the old house will hear the sound of the Keachin ran wailing in the wind, a sound that is only heard at funerals, but now it sounds like a lullaby of death. Some swear they saw the shadow of a man standing in front of the abandoned house, tall, silent, his arms always outstretched, as if waiting, and when they dared to look closely, those white eyes were also looking back at them. Years passed, the house gradually fell into disrepair, but no one dared to destroy it. The village elders said, "There are ghosts living there." People placed talismans, planted crosses, hung dried corn on the fence, anything to prevent the spirit from returning to the village. But evil is not easily sealed, because there are souls that do not ask for liberation. They ask for revenge. They ask for reunion, even in the form of demons. And if one night you hear a knock on the door in the middle of the wilderness, knock, 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 don't open it, because what's waiting outside? It could be someone's father, long dead.